Emily was the kind of girl everyone at Brookstone Academy noticed, not because she flaunted her wealth, though she could have, but because she carried herself like someone who had everything under control. Her designer clothes, top grades, and picture-perfect social life made her the definition of untouchable. Her mother, Clara, was a powerhouse CEO who ran an entire real estate empire and raised Emily alone. At least that's what everyone believed. What Emily didn't talk about was her father, mostly because there was nothing to say. According to Clara, he walked out when Emily was still in diapers. No letters, no visits, no birthday cards. Just vanished. Clara said he couldn't handle being a father, and over time, Emily accepted it as fact. But it left something in her, a quiet ache, the kind that success and popularity couldn't reach. At school, there was a janitor named Jack who kept mostly to himself. Middle-aged, always in uniform, quiet but courteous. No one paid him much attention, except to hand him a broom when someone spilled a smoothie. But Jack always made a point to smile at Emily, not in a creepy way, just soft, almost pained. She sometimes smiled back, assuming he was just being nice. After all, he was probably just another invisible adult at a school full of entitled kids. What she didn't know was that Jack wasn't just being friendly. Every hallway he cleaned, every lunch wrapper he picked up near her locker, every quiet glance was because he was watching the daughter he never stopped loving. Jack was her father. Years ago, Clara had cheated on Jack with one of her business clients. When Jack found out, she filed for divorce almost immediately. She had power, money, and a ruthless legal team. He was a mechanic back then, honest, hard-working, broke. She told him he'd never see Emily again. She changed her number, moved cities, and scrubbed him out of their life. By the time he tracked her down years later, Emily was already enrolled at Brookstone. Jack took a janitor job just to be near her. He never introduced himself, never pushed, just stayed close. Every birthday, he left a small gift in the lost and found, anonymously. Every award she won, he clipped from the school newsletter and saved it in a folder at home. He'd whisper, "I'm proud of you." From a distance, no one noticed. It wasn't enough. But it was all he had. To Emily, Jack was a nameless staff member who always seemed to be around when she needed help. When her locker jammed, when her car wouldn't start, when she dropped her books. She once joked that he had dad reflexes. Jack laughed, but not because it was funny, because it hurt. She had no idea who he really was. No clue that the man quietly sweeping her path was the same man who had cried in a courtroom hallway when he lost custody. The man who watched from shadows while she called someone else family. The man who never stopped being her dad, and he never thought she'd find out. Until one day, she asked him to a party. Brookstone Academy was buzzing about the Founders' Gala. It wasn't just any school event, it was the event. Exclusive, elite, and drenched in old money. Students showed up in luxury cars with dates who looked straight out of fashion magazines. Emily had planned to go with her boyfriend, Carter, son of a tech billionaire. They were the school's power couple, or so she thought. 3 days before the party, everything unraveled. She'd gone to Carter's house unannounced, only to find him in the pool with her best friend, Vanessa. Laughing, kissing, not a care in the world. They didn't even look guilty when they saw her. Just smug. She left without saying a word, no crying, no yelling. But something shifted inside her. Later that night, she overheard Carter and Vanessa at school. Carter said, "Let her come alone. She'll look pathetic, just like her family. No dad, no class." Vanessa added, All that money and still so trashy. It wasn't the betrayal that cut her the deepest. It was the way they said it, like she was a joke, like she was less. She realized then that being rich didn't mean being respected, and having power didn't mean having protection. The next day at lunch, she spotted Jack wiping down a table. He smiled as always and started to walk away. But something in her made her call out, "Jack, wait." He turned, surprised. "Yes, Miss Emily." She looked him straight in the eyes. "Would you go with me to the gala?" He blinked, certain he'd misheard. "What?" "You heard me. I want you to be my date." He hesitated. "Why me?" She shrugged. "Because you've always shown up for me. You never treated me like I was disposable." Jack looked shaken. This wasn't part of any plan. He'd stayed in the background for years, and now she was inviting him into the spotlight. A part of him wanted to say no, to protect her from the backlash, to protect himself from the truth. But the look in her eyes stopped him. "All right," he said softly, "if you're sure." "I've never been more sure." When Clara found out, the house went into chaos. She screamed, slammed doors, demanded that Emily take it back. "You are not bringing a janitor to that party. What will people think? Do you want to humiliate me?" Emily didn't flinch. "Maybe I do. Maybe you need to be humiliated." Clara's face turned cold. "He's nothing, Emily. You don't know what you're doing, maybe not," Emily said. "But I know I'm done listening to people who lie to me." Clara didn't respond, just stared, stunned. Emily walked away before she could change her mind. For the first time in her life, she was making a choice without asking permission. She wasn't sure if she was doing it out of rebellion, pride, or pain. All she knew was Jack deserved that moment. And maybe, just maybe, she did too. The night of the gala arrived, and the school's grand hall glittered with chandeliers and whispered gossip. Emily walked in, arm in arm with Jack. The moment they stepped inside, conversations stopped mid-sentence. Every pair of eyes turned toward them. Whispers rippled through the room, faces shifting from confusion to mockery to discomfort. Carter looked stunned, his smug confidence wiped clean. Vanessa nearly choked on her drink. A few students snickered, nudging each other, clearly amused by what they thought was a stunt. But Jack didn't flinch, and Emily didn't blink. They moved through the crowd like they had every right to be there, because they did. Jack held himself with quiet dignity, more composed than anyone else in the room. He didn't speak much, but his presence alone made people uncomfortable. Not because of who he was, but because of how he carried himself, without shame. Emily, for once, felt proud not of her dress, her status, or her social circle, but of her choice. He was the only one who never treated her like a pawn. As the night progressed, tension thickened. Clara entered late, dressed in designer couture, radiating fury the moment she saw them. She stormed across the hall, grabbed Emily's arm, and hissed through clenched teeth, "We're leaving!" Now Emily pulled away. "I'm not going anywhere. You're making a fool of yourself. Of me. What is wrong with you?" Jack tried to stay silent, but his voice broke through. "She's not the one making a fool of herself." Clara turned on him. "You don't speak." Your staff Jack's calm cracked. "I'm also her father." Gasps followed like an explosion. People froze. Someone dropped a glass. The music stopped. Emily's voice dropped to a whisper. "What did you just say?" "I'm your father, Emily. I never left you. I was never allowed near you." Your mother made sure of that. Clara's face turned pale. "Don't listen to him. He's lying." "He's sick." Jack stepped forward, ignoring her. When you were a baby, she left me after cheating. She didn't want a mechanic for a husband. She took you, cut off all contact, told you I abandoned you. I didn't. I tried. I failed. But I never stopped being your father. Emily stared at both of them, breath shallow. Tell me it's not true. Clara said nothing. Emily's voice trembled. You told me he walked out, that he didn't want me. Still, no answer. Jack said quietly, You've always had questions. Now you have answers. The silence that followed was louder than any argument. Emily looked around the room, at the faces that once adored her, now unsure what to do with the truth laid bare. Her chest tightened, not from shame, but clarity. She turned to Clara. You lied. About everything Clara reached for her. Emily stepped back. That night was supposed to be about status. Instead, it became about identity. Not just hers, but Jack's. And nothing would ever go back to how it was.